Hey guys, I'm Axel. Y'all should grab a coffee. I sure as hell am. And join me for today's video. But fair warning, this is in no way a tutorial, but I'll do my best to be thorough and not go on tangents. But I make no promises. Oh, Jesus. This is going to be very rough because I did not record a good majority of these clips with making this video in mind, but I've been getting some questions recently about how I make my stuff. Step one, I drew really rough and really ugly thumbnails and sketches of what I want the box to be. I tend to draw like a Mannerist painter in the 16th century, and while that style is cool sometimes and it does work for some of my projects, it does not work for all of my projects. Specifically this one, I wanted to be more Albrecht Dürer meets comic books type deal. If you know, you know. So I ended up, after I had these thumbnails, using a technique called photo bashing. Now, photo bashing is a fun technique, and I try to keep my photo bashes pretty messy. If you start to get to the point where it's too refined, too blended, looks like it all was one photo originally, you start to get more into digital composite or digital collage territory. Then that brings us to step 3, printing it and transferring it. So once I have my photo bashes, I make sure that each part of the Shadowbox I want to be an individual layer is all on its individual layer in Photoshop. Save all of them as individual JPEG files or a PDF, and then I use my handy dandy light table to draw all of those onto Bristol. When I'm drawing everything onto the Bristol, I try to make sure, this is another reason why I do my photo bashes very messily, is I want to actually use my drawing skills because I do know how to draw. I am not just tracing. You can see from my photo bash that I was too lazy to find images of like the arm wraps that he has. So I just free-handed those in as I was tracing Daredevil onto the Bristol. I added a floor to him. I simplified Lady Justice because I want the lighting to be a little bit different, and she's a statue in mine and a real person in the image I used for my photo bash. So that then brings me to step 4. Practice, practice, practice. And what I like to do is break down, okay, what skill do I need to refresh in order to do this project? And that's what I use for my practice. So now we're on step 5. I actually inked the final panels, but before I did that, I made sure I went back into my pencil sketch and did a bit more areas of where I needed shading so that I knew where I was cross hatching and I knew how dark to make those hatches. Now, I'm not gonna say I'm a master at dip pen, and you can let me know in the comments if you see any of the places that I fixed with white gouache, because my dip pen during this project did explode on me. And how I fix that is I just get a little bit of white gouache with absolutely no water in it, a teeny tiny micro brush, and I just dab it on, and then I just continue on. It's pretty much like nothing happened unless you like really look at it. And then I wanted to also have some areas of like a little pop of color. So it's like, I did so much work on this window and I did so much work on this arch, like it needs a little spice, little something. And now we are on step 6, which is cutting out all of those pieces. My printer is more than capable of printing things out on Bristol, but I decided, my printer just started when I said printer. Do you have ears? Okay, I could have taken my inked panels, printed them out on Bristol, and then cut those out, But I decided I'm a huge fan of giving myself a lot of self-induced anxiety, and I decided to cut out the originals. And I probably spent 2, probably 3 hours. Watch, I'm gonna look at these clips and realize I spent 4 hours cutting out all of these individual pieces, like non-stop. I didn't really take a break doing them, which highly regretted that decision afterwards. But once they were all cut out, we get to move on to step 7, which is our last step. Just kidding, I forgot to paint the box. The entire time I was making these pieces, I was like, oh, almost done. And then I looked over at my other art desk and I was like, oh, right, that box is supposed to be turned into a Bible. And now we get to step 8, which is assembling the box. And with this box, the only piece that touches all 4 sides of the box is the front arch. All of the other pieces only touch 2 or 3 sides. So I use these little foam adhesive dots. I spent about an hour doing that. Probably hundreds of those foam dots I had to push out and stick to these panels. Okay, so we got the final box here. Many hours of work spent fighting with those foam dots and fighting with my wrist not to die. But I think the result was well worth it.